Hello and welcome back to Sam's on Wrestling. Today I'm with a man so old that he makes Joe Biden look youthful and vibrant.
Jesus.
It's Elder Sam. How was the 90s?
Really good. Pokemon was going
Oh,
on.
I was on about the 1890s.
Oh, I think that there was diphtheria.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great time to be alive.
Well, we're here now. Some of you made it this far.
I'm here.
This is our round table. We are having a little bit of a nuanced discussion today. Usually they're quite formatted, but this is a bit of an open mic just to discuss a topic. Today we are talking about the legacy of John Cena. But before we get into that, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I find this quite interesting.
I think it's interesting to talk about because this is the beginning of the year. 2025, Cena's going to go on his final year. We don't really know what it's going to entail. We hope he doesn't get injured, so he actually gets his full year. Because that's the worry. That's my first worry, that he actually might get injured.
That is the worry, isn't it? Especially because he's been out of the ring so long.
And Twitter's been really interesting because everyone's like, I want him to face this guy, this guy, and this guy, this guy. And it's been to be a mix between, I want him to face all his old people, and I want him to face loads of new people. Where do you go? Before we talk about his legacy, where do you start? Would you rather him face old people, new people, and mix? Where are you at?
I think you've got to do a mix. I think, but it's just doing the right people. I think I can take one Orton match.
I don't want Orton. I don't want it.
I think
I'm done. I hated it then. I hate it now.
People will want it, so give them just.
But why do they not remember?
Because people have short memories. And then some of these people didn't actually grow up when it was happening.
Oh, it was awful.
So they think it's Rock and Austin, it's not.
They booed when they had a stare down in a rumble.
No, it was worse. It was silent.
Yeah.
It wasn't even booed, it was crickets. That's the most damning statement.
The only old person I want him to face is Punk.
Punk is the one for me.
That's the only one.
That would make me so happy.
So who do you want him? Who's like, if you did pick three, who's your three? That's who I want. Gunther's definitely, that might be the Mania match, you know. I'm intrigued to know if they go down that route for Mania.
I think that's a great one.
But does he go for the title that early?
Not necessarily. I just think Gunther has to be done at some point.
Yeah.
In terms of other people,
I genuinely would love to see him versus Bron Breakker. I would really love to see him versus Bron Breakker in kind of like a challenge, open challenge type thing.
I'd be on board with that. Bit of a wild card. I don't think he'd be my top three, but I'm blanking a bit. But you know who I'd like to see? Bronson Reed.
Bronson would be fun. See if we can lift him.
I'd be quite intrigued by that.
Do you know who I generally want?
Go on.
Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Oh, that. Yeah.
I haven't seen anyone.
That has to be done.
I haven't seen anyone really mention him though.
That's a real. I know he's put over a lot of people, and I'll get to that. But that is a pass to the torch, isn't it? Because he's now really the modern John Cena.
He is.
That we haven't had.
And do you know everyone goes, oh, he needs to turn heel and he needs to do this, and I'm going, have you seen his merch sales? He's in the top 5, not just WWE, of athletes in America.
That's insane.
That's how big he is. He is that big, and that's how big kind of Cena kind of was for a while.
My friend said he was at I think they played it in Tottenham Hotspur. No, it wasn't. Is it some kind of sporting event? It might have been a Man United match, and they played his song at half time.
Like, it's really over.
Big.
Yeah, it's really over.
Yeah.
I think Luke Littler used it when he did the darts in the US.
I didn't know that.
I think he came out to the
That's cool.
Well, Cody had a message with him. He's a massive darts fan. They actually went to WWE's like headquarters.
No, I saw that.
And did a
video,
thing with Pretty Deadly.
Yeah.
And then he actually used Cody's arms. They go, keep the thing.
Yeah.
Keep the thing, because he uses one of the WrestleMania 33 themes.
Oh, so doing like one. Yeah.
No, it's not big time. But anyway, that's by the by.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about his legacy. What will his legacy be? Because I think he's an interesting fellow. I can't quite work out who he is as a person.
I know what you mean.
Because you watch and you think, you are so giving, so charitable. I mean, the fact that he's number 1 on Make-A-Wish. And this is, again, not of WWE, ever. Like, when you've beaten people like Bieber and stuff like that.
And to me, I go the fact that he never wanted people to know about it. WWE told him, actually, we need to promote this to kind of show what you're doing. And he didn't want that to be promoted. I think that's the most telling thing.
Well, because the thing is, other people got annoyed because they were also doing Make-A-Wish. So CM Punk, I think, talked about it on the Art of Wrestling. Like, and we're all doing it as well, but Cena's the one who got promoted. But I don't mind that, though.
It's his character, isn't it?
But it's not just about his character, because you've also seen and heard not great things. There's an element of, getting Mr. Kennedy fired, having a go at the guy who used to do the Burning Hammer move, Tyler Rex. Having a go at him. The thing with Kenny Dykstra and Mickey James. It's not.
What was that again?
I think he cheated on. Kenny Dykstra was engaged to Mickey James, and I think they had an affair. Yeah. And then you talk about him changing outcomes, like the Nexus. Cena said, I will never go with a storyline sort of thing. I'll just do what I'm told. He will change it, though. Now, that's the interesting. So I always look at Cena and go, what are you actually, because obviously the Total Bellas and Total Divas didn't make him look great.
No, but then I think a lot of that was he was playing a character on there.
What you mean, the house rules and all
Well,
that
I think
strictness?
it's been said afterwards that it was all a character for TV's sake.
Yeah,
I don't know. You've got to take that with a big picture.
You do that, but you don't want to portray.
I can believe it with him.
That's the problem. So we're not going to talk about him necessarily as much as we can from him as a person. We might talk about his backstage politics.
That's part of it.
No, I meant because we don't know him, but we can talk about his backstage politics and stuff. So where would you like to start on John Cena's legacy? Do you start from the start?
I think we can start wherever. It's just when you think of John Cena as a person, you've got to. I think obviously the achievements are incredible. For me, it's his Make-A-Wish stuff and how intelligent he comes across.
Very well read.
Incredibly well read. And I think he lived that gimmick the same way Undertaker lived his gimmick.
Yeah,
but it is a harder gimmick to live because anyone can. Not anyone.
Undertaker
that's not fair.
Yeah.
But Undertaker can hide away, and he can just wear black and wear certain clothes and be mysterious and leave people alone. Whereas John Cena, to really buy into, I don't think that's the only reason he did it. I think he's genuinely that kind of person.
Yeah.
But to do that for so many children, these are terminally ill kids. That is
he gave them such a smile
a human being to have to do constantly. I think it's
not just Make-A-Wish, it's other things that won't even Make-A-Wish.
Yeah, just other stuff.
Like when you go to signings and stuff, Cena's queue. Look at Cody's queue now; it's unbelievably large, and Cena's queues were just a mammoth. This is the thing that really annoys me. When I would obviously be an adult, and I would have wanted Cena to have turned heel, and obviously he was thinking about doing it against The Rock for the second one.
Yeah,
had new gear and all that jazz, but he couldn't. In reality, John Cena could not turn heel. In the same way, right now, Cody Rhodes cannot turn heel. I'm sure Cody would be a great heel. Cena's a great heel. We saw him do it with Doctor of Thugonomics. But he was with the kids. And there's sometimes you've got to realise that what you want and what makes a business standpoint, and even just kind of societal standpoint, you have to take into consideration. Yeah. And Cena couldn't do that to the kids. He couldn't turn on the kids.
No, and I think looking back on it now, it's always going to be better in your imagination.
Yes.
Instead of it actually happening.
Absolutely.
It's like the streak ending. It's like... It happened and then it was like, oh, that's really sad that it's over.
Even if it went amazingly, it was never going to work because he'd had amazing matches anyway, and the match didn't end the streak.
Yeah. And I think the fact that he went through such a long period of being booed in the way that he did.
Should we talk about that a little bit? Because that is a part of his legacy.
Really
because I will talk about that. Like he obviously had his 2002 debut, then went nowhere, nearly gets fired, does a rap. He is the luckiest man. They literally, as are WWE, they are also unbelievably lucky that their biggest star of the last 25 years was nearly fired.
Yeah.
If he literally hadn't done that rap, if Steph hadn't walked by or heard it or whatever, he wouldn't be here. And this rap gimmick, everyone used to complain because everyone used to sit around the ring and watch, and he'd be in the stands. And they were going, oh, you've been away. But he was sat there writing, coming up with ideas and gags and raps. So then that gets over, and it gets over so hot he has to become a babyface, right? And then the Rocket, Moon, off we go. And he gets drafted to Raw in one of the best moments, actually, of that year. Everyone goes crazy. And you saw how popular he was. And literally, it's only months later that he starts getting booed. Now, there was an element of that in Puerto Rico in 2005. He was getting booed at the New Year's Revolution. So that was happening. But not really in America. And then suddenly the Jericho, Christian, Kurt Angle feud led to him to just getting constantly booed, which then culminated at Triple H. WrestleMania 22, Triple H pretty much had to play a babyface almost and mock him for being his wrestling ability. It was really strange. And it was there going, imagine mocking someone who's the champion for their wrestling ability.
Doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense. And that's a really confusing thing. And I don't know if that's Triple H going, you need to go work on your craft. Because quite frankly, if you watch John Cena's matches from 2004 to 2011, they're bad. There's good matches here and there, but you look at the opponent and you go, So he had great matches with Triple H. He had great matches with Shawn.
There's a few.
He had great matches with Kurt Angle.
Umaga,
I would honestly say his best match. It was the best match that he actually had.
He did well with Carly.
Carly, he gave Carly his best matches. He gave Carly his best ever matches. Absolutely, I'm talking more about 5-star type things.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, he kind of took himself away and learned to wrestle.
I think he suddenly went, I can do another gear. I think he coasted a little bit wrestling wise because he
Yeah.
was doing so well, especially in the PG
Did he have
era
time
as
to
well.
improve?
Exactly. So I think for a long time he kind of coasted along with his wrestling ability and did all the other stuff and was booed, but was still this massive draw, so I didn't feel he needed to. It weirdly feels to me like with the Punk rivalry, and we talk about it to death, but that's when he suddenly stepped up his ring work.
Got a 5-star Dave Meltzer match. First one in
yeah,
WWE for a decade.
And I think he suddenly started to switch.
Sneeze!
Beautiful. He suddenly started to switch gears, and then that leads you down the road to eventually we get to the style stuff. And I think
Before even Styles, you got the US challenge.
we have loads of stuff in the middle. I think that I'm just talking about the pinnacle.
Oh, those two Styles matches, SummerSlam and Rumble,
Different.
are just different gravy. And I know, again, Styles needs to be lauded way more than he actually is for his in-ring work. I think it's because he spent most of his time in TNA. But those matches maybe are some of the best matches I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They really, really are. And Cena is holding his weight as much as AJ. It's not all AJ at all. Don't get me wrong, AJ is one of the best sellers and can make anyone look amazing. Cena's got to do that. Cena's like busting out like Canadian destroyers and sunset flip things and stuff like that.
And what I come back to as an overarching point is any criticism that you can levy at him, which might be justified. I'll just say, well, I think he's not a good wrestler. I can point to 10 matches that tell you otherwise. I think in my top 10...
He is not a bad wrestler.
Not in the slightest.
I would say the average match he had was not good.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
But that's the stereotypical fan, he can't wrestle, which was the thing
he
for
can
ages.
wrestle.
He's one of the best talkers of all time. That's not appreciated enough.
That's the thing that I was actually going to... You beat me to the punch. I was going to say, but there's a reason he is the most popular. It's because he can talk. Now, admittedly, his talking went left because he went children-friendly. Like, you watch him from 2003 and compare it to, let's say, 2009, you're like, what happened? Like, what happened? But when he is in the mood, when he's fired up, when there's something he believes in, I think about that Roman promo in 2021. Wow! He destroyed Roman. Destroyed The Rock many times. Rock, the greatest talker of all time. Hands down, we agree. When we do our talker, we're going to have to really, talk about everyone else before we get to The Rock. But he destroyed The Rock, I would say, the majority of the time.
Rock actually lost some of his confidence doing that.
Well, he had to write on his wrist and stuff like that.
Incredible. He's incredible at that. And yeah, you can talk about the championships. Sure, they're fake championships, etc., whatever. But to have that as a...
That is the problem. I probably will talk about it one day. But outside of 2 reigns, he's got 14 really short reigns.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. That's what I say. So that's another thing about legacy. He's a 16-time world champion. I'd be amazed if he's not a 17. But at the same time, this is the problem with people who have 17. You've had to have lost it 16 times. Ric Flair, Triple H, Randy Orton. And you look at it and you go, that's a month, that's 3 weeks, that's a month, that's 2 months, that's a month. Oh, 380 days. Got injured by Kennedy. Technically injured himself.
Yeah,
really. Didn't take the move properly. That's a month, that's a month. And that was the problem I had with Cena. Is all these title reigns, they were just adding up. And it wasn't like they were adding up like, when Christian and Randy Orton were swapping the title for a bit. Or even Charlotte and... Sasha Banks. At least you were swapping the time. It wasn't that. It was just I've won it back now.
Yeah.
I feel like he would drop it for a little moment for Edge here, a little moment for RVD here, and mine now. Thank you very much. I did think he could have put over more people in the first half because we've talked about this before. People talk about they're jobbing. And I went, they're not jobbing. Let's stop using that term. I hate the term jobbing, but. Also, if you've got to, and people go, why can't this person just put that person over? Because you've got to protect your entity. If you always lose, even if you win, and then lose, you will start to drop down. Take someone like Kane. Kane's aura disappeared because he started losing a lot. If Kane had been booked like The Undertaker, Kane would probably be at the same standard as The Undertaker, but he wasn't. But there were times when Cena could have and should have put people over. And I think that will always be a thing that's a problem. I think the 2 people that immediately spring into my mind are Bray Wyatt and Rusev.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, the Rusev one did lead to something better, so I will always give that a hands up. The Cena US Open Challenge, I still think it's the best thing he's ever part of his career.
I think it's very arguable.
I love every match I was excited for. Every match was great. I got to see him work with so many unique people. It made other people look good. Like Zack Ryder came out looking good. Cesaro, Dean Ambrose, they were amazing. Yeah. Neville, yes, that was a good match as well. In fact, he had 2 with Cesaro, I believe.
Yeah.
And these were all great. But why couldn't he put Bray Wyatt over?
It really does.
Why couldn't he have done it? And not just at Mania. He won the feud. And the only one he lost was that weird, you got the whole world in your hand singing kid thing.
There's a kid thing, yeah. And I know you can say, he made up for a little bit with 36 when he put over the Fiend, but
he's part-time.
Exactly. So it's not the same. I agree. So what my argument is, because that's
Because
absolutely...
he's putting people over now, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have the same meaning.
No. So you're absolutely correct in what you're saying. All I would say is, if you have to take John Cena, all and everything about John Cena, that is a part of him. And would he have been that same star and that level if he also didn't have this kind of ruthlessness, and sometimes it was too much and it got out of hand, the Nexus, where he would put himself over Bray? Maybe the top people need that. And maybe that's on Vince.
I was going to say, how much did John... Because we knew John changed the Nexus finale. I don't know about Bray, or I don't know about anyone like that.
You say he did. He got into Vince's ear,
that's
and
my
then
point.
Vince...
And that's the thing, is like, why was Vince so scared to build new stars? Just generally. Since the Attitude Era, he built like 3 people. It's really strange. And Cena was one. And Cena benefited from a lot of things. And it was almost just like, why could you have just said no to him? Or why could you not go up to him and go, John, I want you to lose this match? Like, how many WrestleMania matches did he lose from his debut to, let's go, 31, say?
Oh, not many to that. He lost most of them after that.
Yeah, afterwards, that's when we were in the stage of, you know, Undertakers and Brays and stuff like that. Because I'm looking at it and going, there was a triple threat with Triple H and Randy Orton, but that's Triple H and Randy Orton. And I can't remember if he got pinned in that. It was the one who got pinned.
Yeah.
And then I'm stuck. Did he lose at all?
Lost to the Miz,
and
Mania, but
Miz
that's
and Rock,
Miz
and Rock, and you're like going
lost to the Rock,
and they're like the Rock, and then the Miz is, but he didn't put the Miz over because it made Miz look bad. So the question is, so we've got we've been talking now for a good old 15, 16 minutes. What is his legacy going to be? From a fundamental point, he will go down as one of the greatest. Does he? And I hate the conversation of what's the Mount Rushmore. I hate it, right? Because it doesn't mean anything. But does he go side by side with a Hogan, a Stone Cold, and a Rock? Does he reach that level? Because the difference between him and Stone Cold and Rock is he has been as popular or as big or made as much money? No. But he did it for 20 years. Where Stone Cold did it for 4. Rock did it for, 5? In terms of at the top. Does that make a difference? He's kind of almost level with Hogan. Hogan, 80s all the way through to like 2002. Almost.
I think there's something about carrying them through a bit of a low period.
A massive low period.
And
he had him on his back.
He really did, because you're not going to put it on Orton's back.
That's proved.
Batista is great. I love Batista. But
Batista actually, it worked out so well to have that presence of you are the main guy. It was like seen as the main guy, so he can carry on doing what he was doing and actually build his star up by not being the main focus. The minute Batista I felt was the main focus, I felt like he kind of, not wilted, but it wasn't the same.
No.
And you felt that every time they did Batista versus Cena. It never worked.
No.
It never quite worked.
And it depends on what this question is, because are you talking him in general or just in wrestling?
No, that's the question.
Because Hollywood,
What's
what
his
he's
legacy?
gone on to do as an entertainer, I think is incredible.
I tell you what, that makes him look really bad with The Rock when he, you're part-time, I'm never leaving.
Oh, I agree, but he's acknowledged that.
He has acknowledged it, but it does make you go, wow, you look like a tit now, don't you? Because the minute you criticise someone for doing something, I always go, oh, wow, you can't do that. You don't know where you're going. Because I think Roman's done it as well.
Yeah, he did the same thing.
And you're like, Roman, you are a good actor. You're a handsome man. You will most likely end up... And also, you want to stop taking a toll on your body with the leukemia and all that.
It's the inevitable path.
You will end up in movies. And you've got to be very careful of what you're doing.
Absolutely. So there's that element to it. I just can't... Sure, you can go, okay, Alex Riley, this and that. And yeah, sure. Was he perfect? No.
No.
But compared to the stories you hear about other wrestlers, even the supposed nicest, like, I love Edge, and he comes across as the nicest guy in interviews, but he had the Matt Hardy later thing was real.
Yeah.
That happened. Like, people aren't perfect.
People aren't they're actors. They're still an actor and they're still playing
a role. We can't expect them to be, but he was about as good-willed and good-hearted as you could expect for a man in that position. Could you imagine if a scandal came out about him?
Yeah.
Knowing that
they did try a few cheating scandals at him, but other than that, yeah, he'd never had kids, and marrying Nikki Bella, and then him essentially going, I don't want to have kids. Why did he get?
But that doesn't make him a bad person.
No. My point is that's as far as it went. Really. Yeah. When I talk about legacy, I don't care about who he is as a person necessarily, unless it gets bad, such as Hogan. I think Hogan's ruined his legacy for being who he is. I think The Rock needs to be careful from a different standpoint, a business standpoint, rather than a personality standpoint. And I look at Cena and go, you've done some wonderful things for charity, but in the ring, I felt it's a tale of two halves. I think he put the company on his back and it felt like he couldn't lose because he needed to be the guy, and they needed to have somebody they could sell. And then he clicked over, let's say, from about 2011 and put the work in. And I think people are going to remember the second half of his career more than the first, apart from Doctor of Thugonomics, which may be one of the greatest gimmicks of all time.
Yeah, as short as it was. I just think the work he put in and the dates that he did, I think it's underestimated because when he was around, you just took it for granted. Because, he's Super Cena, he's the workhorse. But
the minute he went, there was a hole.
There was a hole. I think it's very easy for us to underappreciate it because, especially I grew up with him, he was just around for you. It's very easy to underappreciate just how incredible he was and how smart he was and how much he gave to other wrestlers. Because when you hear interviews, especially Cody talks about him a lot, how influential he was, how much he gets wrestling.
He does.
And how he's just gone into, Hollywood and done what he's done.
In conclusion, for me, in my eyes, I think he is bigger than Stone Cold and Hogan because of what he had to do. It's all well and good being the top of when it's at the hottest, but to do it for only 4 years, Austin, injuries and all that, and, burnt out and all that stuff. For Cena to go through the low points, you could argue he is a part of the low point for a reason, but, whatever. To do all that work for 20-odd years in, out of the ring, it's the same with The Undertaker. If you're saying The Undertaker's one of the greatest, I'm telling you now, if you analyse The Undertaker's career, and we'll do the legacy, his career for the first half's awful. It's pretty much bad across the board. There's moments, don't get me wrong. It isn't really until he gets to about WrestleMania 23 that he actually starts becoming, in my eyes, legendary status of the whole thing. I think Cena becomes a world-class wrestler. He's a world-class talker, a world-class humanitarian, works harder than anybody else probably, because I always said how much he actually used to do in terms of all the marketing and all that stuff. So for me, I would genuinely say his legacy is not as the 16-time or maybe even 17-time world champion, making him the greatest champion of all time. I would genuinely say without Cena, WWE would be in a much worse place than it would be right now, and that's what makes somebody up there. Because Stone Cold took it to a stratosphere. Without him, WWE wouldn't be in the place. Without Hogan, WWE wouldn't be there. Without The Rock, WWE wouldn't be where they are now. And I think Roman is in the same place. Without him, WWE wouldn't be where they are now. And that's what makes someone one of the greatest, that they come in, and without them, where would they be? Yes, they could have found a replacement or whatever, but that person would have been given it. But would they have took it to the same level, same extent? So for me, John Cena's legacy is somebody who, without him, where would they be?
I agree, and I just think reliable. When the chips were down, he never went anywhere. Hogan went to WCW. Austin
Hogan went to the movies, actually.
Exactly, and then went to WCW. The Rock went to Hollywood immediately, very quickly.
Austin took his ball and went home.
Exactly.
And was
Cena
not fit enough.
Stayed in times when I think other people of that stratosphere wouldn't have. And he took Dog's abuse.
It'd been really interesting if AEW had started 2009. What would have been the landscape of wrestling at the time? Because would have WWE have stepped up, kind of like they did with Triple H now? It'd been really interesting.
But I think Cena, for me, one of the greatest ever to do it. And I have nothing but admiration for him. And I think any negatives about him just get massively outweighed by how hard he worked and what he did. I think he's an incredible human being.
Yep, I absolutely agree. What do you think John Cena's legacy will be at the end of his career, end of his life, Hall of Fame, whatever it is, whatever you think? Where do you put it? What do you think about what we've said? We've given it the rough with the smooth. We are Sam's on Wrestling. This has been our lovely little discussion, our round table. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And what would you like us to talk about in the future? What would you like us to discuss in a kind of very open forum way? Thank you very much, and we will see you next time.